Today is day 67 of 100 Random Acts of Kindness. I did not get dressed this morning, or today, or any time during the day. Today is most likely my last day before chemo. So the chemo that I've been on before is an IV chemo. So you go into the chemo ward, you get the IV treatment. It would take, I think start to finish, I was like 3 or 4 hours maybe. Come home, just feel kind of tired. And then, so it was a Friday that I would always get chemo. And then it was usually Sunday night where I started feeling crappy. By Monday, felt disgusting. Tuesday, not much better. And then slowly came out of it. So about a week after, you could kind of feel that it was getting better. Week 2 was not bad. You could at least leave the house. Not that I didn't leave the house, but you could just do a few more things. And then week 3 started feeling pretty decent. I mean, as far as having cancer goes. And then you're back to week 1 again. So this one's different. This is an oral chemo. So this one you take every day. So you don't feel quite, my understanding, I haven't been on this chemo before, but you don't feel quite consistently, you don't feel like that onslaught of feeling horrible and throwing up for a number of days. Everybody is different. I happen to be a puker. And then feel better and better and then worse again. This is something consistently that you have similar side effects. So big ones would be fatigue, nose and mouth sores. And you know when you get those really bad nose sores and like anything, like you just do that kind of thing and then your eyes water, and so that's fun. And then the worst part of this one seems to be hand-foot syndrome, which is different than foot and mouth syndrome or foot and mouth disease. I know they kind of sound similar. This is a Graves' sensitivity on your hands and feet. They need to be moisturized 2, 3, 4 times a day. Anything from losing sensation to pain to redness, scaling, peeling, blisters, all that fun stuff. So, oh man, it's just kind of, and again, what's the alternative? And, you know, when I was stage 2, I often thought, like, how can people stop treatment? Like, at what point, you know, and not, again, I've said this before, not that I'm there yet, but man, oh man, like, sometimes you kind of have to think about quality of life, and I have a good quality of life now, and I feel like shit, and I still feel like I have a good quality of life, so it will take a lot for me, but I know that day is going to come where it's just, I can't do this anymore. At what point, again, I'm not there yet. I don't want anybody to go, oh God, she's thinking about quitting treatment. I'm not, but I do understand it, and I think I've said this to you before. As of October 7th of this year, I will have officially been dealing with cancer for the majority of my adult life. Think about that. So Leah and I were talking the other day, and she said, you know, like, we've known each other 30 years, and so she said, like, I have memories of you not having cancer, but I don't remember you not having cancer. Like, I don't remember a time where cancer wasn't the primary focus of your life. And yeah, it seems pretty far away. It's just crazy. So for those of you, this is going to be a long video, so if you're not up for it, turn it off now. For those of you who are under the impression that cancer is not expensive in Canada, let me tell you, I won't go into all the ins and outs. Our taxes, I think in 2016, were over $12,000 medical expenses, and we have universal health care. The latest thing is that this chemo, which isn't an IV chemo, is not covered by OHIP. So you may have seen the Liberals and NDP were mostly the NDP, but I did see some Liberals trying to fight to get oral chemo, or take-home chemo is sometimes what it's called, to be covered. PCs are not interested. I'm not suggesting who I voted for. There are many, 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 many issues to deal with it. Healthcare is something obviously that's important to me. I don't have kids, so daycare doesn't matter. I'm not we're in a house, so I'm not trying to break into the housing market. Like, there are lots of things that don't matter to me. There are a lot of things that do matter to me. And there are also a lot of things, I just want to clarify this before I continue. There are a lot of things that are important to a lot of Ontarians that aren't important to me that I took into consideration with my vote. So I'm not going to go on a big political thing, but my point was, if you saw that, that's what this was about. So right now, I am fighting with insurance to cover my chemo. Keith's plan does cover it. My plan, I need special authorization, which always I just think is so ludicrous, because who is fighting to get on this drug? Who wants to go through all those things that I just told you? And I told you about 10% of the things that can happen to me. Who is fighting after their oncologist writes this prescription? Like, that's not enough. There was a 3-page, well, has she tried this? What's her, like, I don't know. I guess Xeloda is just being willy-nilly prescribed. It just aggravates the fuck out of me, to be totally honest, because now I was supposed to start chemo today, but insurance is still making their decision. So I'm sorry. That is what just really aggravates me. And I'll try to make this short. But last Wednesday, my oncologist said, you're going to need chemo, you're going to need Xeloda. I contacted them back, the hospital, and said, is this something that's covered? A chemo patient or a cancer patient who had never dealt with this before would not know to ask that question, because the assumption is that chemo is covered. Now, I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm saying, between being an advocate and having cancer for almost 7.5 years, I have learned that patients are not necessarily friends with the health system. And I have to do so much legwork that you learn along the ways, that don't just make assumptions. So I find out that it's not covered. So I'm right on the phone to my insurance company. Nope, you need this special form filled out. Of course I do. So that gets sent off a week ago today to my oncologist. Well, she can't figure out this and she can't figure out that. She finally faxes it in yesterday after sending it to her on Thursday. So I know she's trying to help me out, but at the same time, now I have to wait until tomorrow to get it filled out. I had to wait for my blood work on Tuesday, so it's not like I could have started this last Friday or anything, but I could have started it yesterday, and now we're to tomorrow. Then I called my pharmacy and said, what do you have? Do you have Xeloda? Do you even have it? Because if you don't have a consistent patient on it, a pharmacy isn't going to hold it. So she said, yeah, I have about a month's worth. And I said, in what dosage? Because that's also, everybody's different. So she said, I have the 500 milligrams, or grams or milligrams, I think milligrams. I don't have the 150. So then I had to contact my hospital again and say, I just need to make sure that the prescription is actually in increments of 500, because if it's 2150 or 2300 or 2450, whatever, you see where I'm going with this, they don't have the 150 capsules. No, it's in increments of 500. Okay, fine. So between the pharmacy, the hospital, and my insurance company, I've just been consistently on the phone and firing off emails and calling, and then telling my pharmacy, please don't fill it yet because it hasn't been approved, and then I don't want it fired off to Keith's plan, and they're trying to cover it, and then that's going to start. Like, there is so much to do as a cancer patient, when you just think, like, I just think, if this was my first shot and they said, yep, you have cancer, yep, you're going to start chemo, whatever, on Wednesday, and I didn't know any of this. Imagine if I found out yesterday that I needed to get this form filled out. Like, we'd be a week ahead. And I've got symptoms from my cancer that I want to get under control. A week makes a difference in terminal cancer. So that's my rant. I'm sorry I haven't even got into my random act of kindness. I just have had a lot in my little brain that doesn't work terribly well because of this cancer right now, and I'm just so up to here. And then losing 3 people in a week from cancer is a little much too. So let's get on to some good stuff. So about 15 minutes ago, I'm sitting here. I'm still in my pajamas. Keith got home from working all day. What did he do? He started the laundry. He went outside and worked on, like, pulled weeds, tried to get because we're going to my uncle's funeral or wake tomorrow. So he's doing stuff outside, watering the lawn, etc. Getting garbages ready for tomorrow for garbage day. Came in, continued laundry. I took out something for dinner. That was the extent of what I did. He made dinner. It's endless. So anyway, he was busy upstairs. The doorbell rang. We already had somebody today trying to sell us stuff that Leah and I just sat here, and he rang the doorbell twice. I didn't even get up. He could probably hear us talk. And I thought, no, I don't want to buy anything. And I'm the type of person who's very, oh, I should answer the door. Like, I don't want to be rude. But today was just not a day where I'm going to say no. It doesn't matter if you're selling me the nicest thing for 5 cents. I was going to say penny, but we don't have those anymore. I don't want it. Anyway, so the doorbell rings and I'm sitting here. I can't see who it is from where I sit. The wall kind of sticks out. So he's upstairs and he said, who is it? And I said, I don't know. I actually just got a phone call like 10 minutes prior to that. That was an automated thing. So I don't want to talk to somebody who's trying to sell me stuff. And we do get that quite often out here. So I just assumed that's what it was. So I said, I don't know. I can't see who it is. I'm not answering it. Doorbell rings again. And when somebody rings it that quickly consecutively, you're like, okay, it's somebody that you know, in which case I'll get up. I am in my pajamas and have not washed my hair today, so they're going to have to deal with that. So I open the door, and it's our neighbors across the street. They're from Newfoundland. They are the typical person from Newfoundland that just exceptionally kind and sweet. And so it's our neighbor, Rob, and he sticks out his hand, and he said, this is for you, and it's just a bag. I have no idea what's in it. And he said, thinking of you. And they're just that type of person, or those type of people. And he said, I hope they fit, was one. So I knew it was something that I could wear. And the other one, you guys are going to have to do rock, paper, scissors. And we have a joke because my Aunt Janet makes peanut butter balls that we just love. Like, that's like Christmas 101 is my Aunt Janet's peanut butter balls. She doesn't even like them, and she makes them for me and my cousin Jen. So that speaks to who she is as well. So anyway, I said, is it something to do with peanut butter balls? Because he knew at Christmas time we were talking about how much we love my Aunt Janet's peanut butter balls. I am long-winded. I haven't even got there yet. We're 12 and a half minutes. So he said, well, you're getting close. So anyway, he invited us over for the weekend. I said that we were gone because of my Uncle Greg. So we get in, and it's those, like those really soft cookies. Well, they're peanut butter cookies, which is just so sweet. We'll bring them for a road trip tomorrow. There are probably, there'd be at least 12. They might make them to, to our destination tomorrow. We'll see. And then the other thing, because I had radiation to my pelvis and my hip for my fractures, my radio oncologist said, you might notice that the radiation hits your bladder. And she said it doesn't happen with a lot of people, but sometimes it can hit your bladder because obviously it's hard to explain, but I never thought of this prior to having cancer. But where your pelvis is, where the radiation comes through, it's not like they can somehow go in, like with an x-ray, you can cover your organs. Well, with like a beam of radiation, how do you protect your organs? Like, they're inside and they can't, even if they're coming from the back, so if I'm lying down and coming from beneath and put something at top, well, it's still, there's no way to protect your other organs. So anyway, she said, your bladder might get hit. I'm pretty sure it did because I've always been somebody who can sleep through the night. Always. I've always had a very big bladder, and now consistently from then, I'm up every single night going to the bathroom, which is really annoying, to be honest. Everybody who's had a child, I think, goes through that because your bladder gets destroyed when you have a baby, apparently. So for all of you, I'm very sorry. I actually have a friend who gets up multiple times a night, which may be just a regular thing. That would be like horrible for me. Like, I thought cancer was hard, but oof. Anyway, so the other thing that was in there, I'll see if I can make them work, are these sweet slippers that have LED lights in the front of them. I think these are so cute. And on the back of it, it says, great gift idea. 2 powerful LED lights built securely into the slipper to allow a light path in the dark. Ideal for nighttime trips to the bathroom. That's the first thing that it says. And I think that's so funny because I'm pretty sure, maybe I did say it on one of these videos, but I'm pretty sure that hasn't been a common thing that I've talked about. So I'm sitting here having a few ideas about random act of kindness, and then our doorbell rings, and it's like, huh, it's almost like you knew. And then there are these slippers, and it's like, I almost like you knew. And I'm pretty sure that's like my bladder isn't a common topic of conversation. So I just think it's always interesting when people just kind of tap into those, I don't know, those ideas and those thoughts, and that they just did this and didn't necessarily know. So today, after a really frustrating day, and just, it was one of those red tape days where I don't like having cancer any day, but it's just, I'm just so over, like, you know, when I used to think of the word advocacy or advocate, I wouldn't necessarily think about self-advocacy, but oh my God, is there ever a lot of self-advocacy when it comes to cancer? And I've talked about this with people on Twitter, I've talked about it with Leah, I've talked about it with family. Advocating for somebody else or another group, I can do. Advocating for myself, I've had to do, but I find it I have a lot of anxiety around it. It's very tough often to pick up the phone and say, I need this. How many times? I still have an outstanding referral that both sides, one side said, no, we faxed it. The other side said, I haven't gotten it, but I'm looking for it. And nobody's ever called. And it's just an issue that, like, really low on the priority list. So I don't know if it'll ever be dealt with, but we're talking months ago. And I also know people who have said, well, like, I'll wait, and they trust the process, and then maybe that does work sometimes. I'm not saying it's always horrible, but I don't trust the process ever anymore, ever. So if somebody's going to call me within 24 hours, at 24:01, I'm on the phone saying nobody called. And sometimes, depending on how critical it is, I'll give them 2 hours to call me and then call. And, you know, I used to think, nope, you don't want to bug anybody. And now it's like, no, it's my fucking life. It's not your life. You don't understand. The people at insurance, one woman seems to be bending over backwards. The other woman was just like, well, we told you it would be this long, and it hasn't been that long yet. You don't need life-extending chemo. Wait until you do, because your tone's going to be a hell of a lot different. Hopefully nobody ever needs it, but we all know the reality that people do. And I just, like, I know working in insurance, you hear the same stuff, and it's sometimes similar to working at the hospital, where it's much different, because in insurance you're looking at paperwork and everybody's on paper, and you don't have that patient right in your face all the time. But the desensitization to it just astonishes me. Like, did you hear what I just said? I need this chemo to start now. Anyway, I'm sorry for the rant. And Rob and Kim, you're just such good neighbors and such good friends, and I'm so grateful for these. These slippers are awesome. Honestly, I think that all the time. Every time I get up now, I'm like, oh God, between my hip and everything else, like, I'm going to take a tumble in the middle of the night, and these are just going to really help me. So I am very grateful for that, and thank you so much, and thank you for listening to me talk. I'm sorry for all the data / Wi-Fi that I've just sucked up in this 20-minute video, but I obviously had a few things to say. Talk to you tomorrow.